All right, guys. This is awesome. This is going to be a lot of fun. You've never had your ass kicked during a talk. Get ready. You are going to walk out of here limping and bruised. All right. My average order, all right, it's taken me...
Can you speak louder?
Okay, for my average order, it's taken me 3, 4, 5 years to put all this together. All right, so asking me to give a 45-minute talk on average order, that's like someone asking you, how did you graduate high school? I took a bunch of classes, a bunch of tests, I passed them all, or most of them. I passed enough of them, they let me out. Well, how did you do it? What classes did you take? Well, there was a whole bunch of them. Well, what were they? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through a lot of information. I'm going to go through really fast. You will not have time to write down everything I say. That's why it's all going to be posted on FSM Magic. If you don't know what FSM Magic is, just write down the word FSM Magic and ask somebody about it later, okay? So, let's get started. I have 7 must-do for your average order. Number 1, do an advanced names and uses. Number 2, believe that Cutco should cost way more than it does, and that $5,000 plus on a kitchen is cheap. All right? Number 3, pre-frame the pricing, the 5 pay, all that kind of thing. It's got to be pre-framed in the first 5 minutes of your appointment. Number 4, show your 7 best friends and your 6 big friends. Remember, this is all on FSM Magic. Everything I'm outlining is up there. You can download it anytime. A lot of this is already up there. Your 7 best friends are the 7 knives that are the easiest to sell in your entire sample kit. We're going to go over those in a minute. Your 6 big friends are sets, or if you're on a service call, upgrades, cookware, flatware, hope chests, sets for second homes, and sets for mobile homes, trailers, RVs, and boats. Okay? Number 5, never forget to sell. Number 6, believe that everyone should have 2, 3, or 4 of everything Cutco makes. And number 7, manage your emotions. These are the must-dos. Those are the 7 must-dos. Next we go on to the shoulds. These are things that you should do. Number 1, make everything a trade-in special. Right? You probably taught the trade-in special as something that like you do when she's not buying. All right? I do it every time. The 3rd page in my blue book is, by the way, if you want to save some money, you can trade in some of your old junk. Let me show you how it works, all right? We'll talk about that in a minute. Number 2, do a proper price breakdown. We'll talk about that. Number 3, use peelers and sample knives. And I know a lot of you don't know what sample knives are. That's fine. We can talk about that too. So we'll start with mindset. Number 1, what is a small order? Someone raise their hand. Tell me what they think a small order is. Give me a small order. $100. Small order. Ice cream scoop. Give me a small order. What's that? $500. All right. Way in the back. Small order. Homemaker. That's what I was looking for. That was a homemaker basic. I think it's a homemaker plus 8. All right. In fact, I don't even tell people that there is a homemaker basic. All right. The homemaker set comes with 8 table knives, and it costs $9.92. Well, can I get it without the table knives? Yeah. I mean, you could, I guess. Well, what's that one without the table knives? Well, some people want the table knives to go in a drawer. They don't want them in that set. And it can be discounted. All right? So, mindset. What is a small order? All right, I want to tell you a real quick story about getting ready for my big order. How many of you have heard stories of someone getting a ridiculously big order that you thought they either didn't deserve or didn't earn or whatever, and you're just like, what in the world happened? All right, you guys want to hear a story that just makes you like cringe? I went over to a lady's house once. She has an ultimate set, and she's like, you'll never believe how I got this ultimate set. Some kid came over to my house, and I told him, I said, this stuff is amazing. I want the biggest set that you have. And this kid, I think it was his first appointment, he pointed to this tiny little set, and he said it was the biggest thing to have. And I said, no, you have something bigger. I want you to call your manager and tell him, I want whatever you have that's the biggest thing you have. So he calls his manager, gets on the phone, and then it turns out they do have a bigger set. It's the big one, and I got it. I'm in this lady's house going, oh my God, where was I when this happened? All right? Now that happened to me, and what I started thinking was, and I saw that happen a couple of other times, weird stories about, someone walks into the house, like, give me the biggest thing you got, I'll take 2, here's my credit card, get out of my house. That's an actual story that really did happen to someone at like a $4,000 order. All right? Now check this out. So I thought, okay, if I do this long enough, it is statistically inevitable that that's going to happen to me. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. One day I'm going to walk into the house, and they're going to buy an Ultimate and kick me out, and I'm going to be so happy. Right at the time, I'd like never even sold an Ultimate. So, it happened. It happened because I was ready for it, all right? And it was supposed to be a $2,000 order, and I made it a $7,000 order, all right? This is absolutely awesome. I went over to this lady's house. She has a black homemaker and a white homemaker. Why do you have these two sets? She's like, oh, well, we had this one, and then a kid came over, and we got another one, so now we have two. So, using the techniques that I'm about to share with you, I sat down with her, asked a few questions, and I said, among other things, I said, you know, well, how many houses do you have? She's like, oh, we have 3. And I go, fantastic. Tell me about the other houses. Well, we got a house in the desert. I don't really like going there. We don't go there very often. We got a house on the beach, and we love it. I said, so I turned to the Ultimate and said, what you need to do is you need to upgrade to this. And she goes, oh, no, I don't want to upgrade. I want a new one. I said, what you need is a new one of these. I said, why don't we get one for here, we'll get one for the beach house, and we'll get you one of the mini sets, which is the homemaker. We'll get you one of the mini sets for the place that you don't like going to. She said, sounds great. Okay. Then she says, how many of these little steak knives will I have? And so I do the math in my head, and I figured it's, she would have, 16 plus 12? She'd have 28, so you have 28. She says, that's nowhere near enough. And I said, do you need 48 or do you need 60? She said, I think 60 will be enough. And I go, fantastic. You know what? Well, the greatest thing about getting 60 table knives is they all come with their own little holder. The holds 8 at a time. I'm increasing the CPO by putting on blocks. If people don't get it. I didn't even tell her she could get them by themselves, right? Just like, didn't care. She's like, oh, great, they all come in their own little holders. If I had really been thinking, I would have said they all come in their own cherry chest, but, you know, I wasn't thinking of it. Okay, so then she basically starts adding accessories, and I'm adding 2 of everything in the entire book, basically. We get to the end, and once we're at about $5,000, I'm thinking there's one of 2 possibilities. Either she has so much money that she doesn't care what it costs, or she has no idea what this costs, and I'm going to sell nothing. And so I say to her, and I'm kind of like feeling it out, because sometimes when the orders get to a certain size, you kind of want to feel what's going on, you know. And that is a skill, and it takes time to develop, so it's okay if you mess it up the first few times. And I said to her, well, don't you want to know what this might cost? And she goes, oh, David, I'm sure you'll tell me. We get to the end. And again, here's the thing. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. Every single accessory, I'm thinking, what can I add? What can I add? How can I make this bigger, bigger, bigger? Because I'm remembering every single time that I spent an hour and a half at someone's house to get them closed on that one trimmer. I'm thinking, you know what?
Okay.
That 50 CPO that took me an hour and a half is worth just as much as the 50 CPO I'm getting now that's going to take me 30 seconds. Because all I got to do is say, do you want one of these? And she's going to say yes. So I better keep digging. Right? So I dug and dug and dug, and I ended up having, you know, all these accessories on her sheet. And I really wanted this order to be big. So we get to the end, and I say, you know, your total is this. That was like $7,300 bucks. And I'm like, you can break it into a 5-pay. The first payment's like, you know, $1,900 or whatever it was. I break it into a 5-pay with your down payment of only $1,800. And I go, now, I can discount this if you would like. It won't help me as much for the scholarship if I do, but you're buying so much that I think no matter whether I discount it or not, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win the scholarship. She says, David, you don't need to discount it. Do you want me to write you a check? I said, you guys like that? There you go. It'll process faster if you get a credit card. Because I'll be back with my card. And then her objection for giving me leads was, everyone I know has people who cook for them. I had no idea how to handle that one. She's like, I better get out of this house before she changes her mind. The point is, what would the CPO have been on that for a new rep? Either another homemaker, maybe a signature or an ultimate, $2,000, right? Why did I get it all the way to 7? Because I asked, and because I was ready. I waited months for that lady. I went through, 45 minutes for a boning knife. Went through a 3-hour appointment with a no sale. I was ready, and I had the expectation that it would happen, and I saw the opportunity, and I went for it. And I didn't back down. Right, so that is super, super important in terms of mindset. And realize, guys, the homemaker is a basic set. Your job is to go out and sell a $1,000 set of knives. Your job is not to go out and show a $1,000 set of knives and go, oh yeah, most people don't buy that. That's why we have the 3-piece special. It's the one that really makes sense. All right? Some of you have that in your head on some level. All right? So, that's about mindset. I'll give you this phrase, write it down. A customer will not buy what you are not comfortable selling. If you think something costs too much money, they're going to think it costs too much money because you're going to look at them like they're crazy when you say what the price is. Okay. What are we laughing at?
Work his what off? You rather talk.
Okay, cool.
Not you, you're good.
Cool. All right. So, we're talking about planting seeds, framing, getting your customers sold on the concept of what Cutco is. Okay, here's the thing. You can sell people on the concept of Cutco instead of selling them on the individual pieces. All right? Why do people buy iPods? When people buy an iPod, what do they typically want to buy? Do they want to buy the Nano? What do they want? Who's the Nano for? That's for losers and cheap people, right? What do they want? They want the, I don't know what it's called, but they want the $200, the $300, the $400 one, right? The Touch, okay? How many songs can you put on the Touch?
A lot.
What's the number? It's like 40,000, right? Most of us probably couldn't even, the entire room all put together could not name more than 2,000 songs, I bet you. But people want to go out and buy the 40,000 song one. Why?
The best.
It's because of the concept. It's because it's the best. Right? Because they don't want to look cheap. Because they want whatever's the best, what they think is the best quality product. All right? Same thing with a computer. When you go out and you buy a computer, how many of you know more than like 4 features of a computer that you buy? Okay. How many of you know more than 10? Okay, look at how few hands are up. All right? If I go to buy a computer or I go to buy a car and they tell me more than 6 features, I'm walking away because that's freaking boring. All right? I've got like 4 things that I look for in a car. What's the gas mileage? What does it look like? What does it feel when I drive it? Whether or not it has power windows. All right? That's what I care about. All right? They start getting into anti-lock brakes and all that. Like, forget it. You lost me. It's the same thing when you start spending 5 minutes on the bird's beak paring knife, and the salmon knife, and the petite slicer, and the cleaver. God forbid, don't ever take the cleaver out. All right? But you can still sell it. All right? I'll show you how in a minute. All right? So that's really what this is about. All right? And this may seem like a lot of information in terms of what you present to the customer in the first 5 minutes, but it really only takes 5 minutes if you do this correctly. All right? This is not instead of a demo. This is not instead of a service call. This is in addition to everything else that you do. All right, so start with the Cutco kitchen. Can I get someone to hold the mic for me? Because I need to use my hands. Or someone to use their hands? Cool. Thank you. Okay, so here's what we do. This is my blue book, and yes, you can look at it afterwards. This is a Cutco kitchen page. If you don't know what the Cutco kitchen is, this can be ordered on a literature order by your manager. Okay, or a CSP could order it for you. It's a 2-piece page here that's got basically everything that Cutco makes on it. So I open to this page first thing, and I say, Mrs. Jones, these 2 pages show pretty much everything that we make. Right? Most people who end up having anything Cutco in the kitchen end up wanting everything Cutco in the kitchen. So we have one thing called the Cutco kitchen where you can just get everything that Cutco makes. This right here is our complete set. Looks really big, doesn't it? Oh yeah, it looks huge. It's actually 11 inches wide. It's about that big. And it would fit really well right there. Where do you store your knives right now? This is normally a different service call, which means they got their block right here. They're normally right over there, right? Oh, dude, you could easily fit it right there. I'm looking for their reaction to that. This is the only set that we make that has enough of the table knives. It has 12 of them for when people have guests and things like that. It's also one of the only sets we make that has a slot for the scissors actually in the block, which a lot of people really appreciate. It has all of the customer requested pieces. These are things that people write into us and ask us to make. We get enough of those requests, we actually make them. So there's stuff that customers ask us to make that go in this set. We also have flatware, which is really nice. See, and I'm pausing it. I'm waiting for them to talk. Waiting for them to say, oh my God, I would never use that. Oh my God, I hate to cook. I'm listening for their objections, right? Because now what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to set up traps for them based on the objections they're giving me. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Sorry about the analogy, but whatever. We are selling stuff. Okay, so I do that. Stay standing. Here, hold that. Thank you. Okay, so we've got the Cutco kitchen open, right? And I'm also listening for things like, oh my God, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what we need. I'm listening, and I'm also looking at their facial expression. What do their eyes look like when they see that? Right? They might just look at that and immediately go, my husband needs to see this. All right? I want to know that now. I've been at their house for like 30 seconds. Right? I want to find this stuff out as quickly as I can because I'm planting seeds, I'm pre-qualifying, and I'm closing them beforehand. Right? I do all this stuff. It pre-closes them so much. I absolutely suck at closing. What we traditionally call closing, where you're at the end and you're like, yeah, here's all your options, I could drop it down and this stuff. I don't even know how to do that stuff, guys. Because I never get to practice it because it's all handled in advance. The only objection I ever get is it's too much money, or that's more stuff than we want right now. Right? Okay, and we'll talk about how to get more stuff than they want on their wish list, okay? So next I'll talk about the flatware. Flatware is really nice. It's really cool. It's all stainless. A lot of people really like that. Pause, wait for reaction. Oh, we just bought flatware. Really? Did you keep the receipt? Or, oh, we need flatware. Really? Cool. Funny thing, we have it on sale right now. We also make cookware. Now the coolest thing about the cookware is it's low moisture or waterless. What that means is, have you ever heard of low moisture or waterless cooking? If they have, that's usually a very good sign. That means either they own it or someone they know owns it, or they saw a waterless or low moisture cookware presentation at a fair. So, if they say yes, that's great. You're golden. It's a lot easier to sell cookware if they say yes. If they say no, I give them a really brief synopsis of what it is, and here's what I say. Low moisture cookware is really awesome. Basically what it means is, when you cook vegetables, you don't have to use any water. And they give me a weird look. And I say, well, here's the thing. A lot of times we boil vegetables because we want them to cook evenly, right? Because the water's even temperature. The problem is all the flavor, the color, and the nutrients that go into the water. And and ends up being the healthiest person in the family is a kitchen sink, which is, all your good stuff gets poured out. That's why your water gets cloudy, and that's also why your fresh green broccoli turns that pasty like blue-gray color. It's kind of gross. And they're like nodding their head. So what we do here is just like copper bottom cookware. It's all even on the bottom. It's just like that, only it's not just on the bottom. It's on the sides and the top. So it cooks evenly because the temperature is coming evenly from all sides. What that means is you don't have to add any water. So if you have frozen vegetables, you just throw them right in. You don't have to add anything at all. If they're fresh, you wash them off and shake them and then put them right in. And that's all you have to do. You're like, really? That's really cool. Awesome, thank you. And let's see. Planting seeds. Oh, and I say it's some people, because a lot of times you get the objection, oh, I steam my vegetables, and they're like, I think that's really cool. See, a lot of people think they can get around this by steaming. But the problem is, it's not just the water, it's also the temperature. Water boils at 220, and it steams it even hotter. It's like 230, 240. You don't want your vegetables going over about 180. All right, so now you planted the seed for cookware, and then you can point to the accessories, right? And here, again, you're qualifying. You're looking for them to say, you guys have a garlic press? I really need one of those. Right? And so you're just figuring out what they want on this page. Turn to the next page. This next page is super, super important. All right? It says at the top, Cutco gives back. It's got a picture of me and my mentee. His name's Patrick Folsom. All right? And I say, Mrs. Jones, do you remember that Cash for Clunkers program that they used to have where you trade in your car and your old car and you get money for it? Yeah. We do the same thing. Here's the thing. You guys are independent contractors. You're at 1099. No matter what they tell you, your manager can't tell you what to do. That means you can do whatever you want. So this program is totally legit if you make it your program. Does that make sense? Okay? I'm not kidding. All right? So Mrs. Jones, here's the coolest thing. What we do is we take your old stuff, whether it's an old garlic press, or flatware, or cookware, or an old set of knives. We take them, you give them to us, we donate them to charity. We take the tax write-off and give the savings back to you. So it's basically like a trade-in on your car. What do you have that you could donate? I absolutely kid you not. I had one lady who got so excited about this that she went into her kitchen. Remember, I've been at the house for like 90 seconds by now. she went into her kitchen and she gets all these boxes out. She just starts putting everything in the box. It's like she was moving. And her husband walks in, he's like, what's going on? She's like, we're getting a Cutco kitchen. We're trading all this stuff in. She has no idea what it costs. So she's like, go in the garage. We got some stock pots in there that we haven't used in a while. Get those. And there was like 3 or 4 boxes. And by the time we get to the end and we're closing, she's like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. And she's like, how are we going to afford this all? Here's the thing. She had already made the decision to buy in the first 90 seconds. All right? By the time she's stuffing all this stuff in all these boxes, she's getting further and further and further along in that decision-making process. And now, even though she's having trouble figuring out how to afford it, she's locked herself into that decision, and she's going to find a way. So she and her husband are talking. She's like, I know. Hold on, let me check. And she runs into the other room. She comes back. I checked on the computer. If we move this savings and we get this and we get that, we definitely can afford this. And her husband's like, all right, sounds fine. So I completely filled my car. I couldn't fit any more trade-in specials in my car, and it was like halfway through SC2. It was a mess. So these trade-ins, they can really, really help because how many of you run into the objection? I already have all that stuff, right? Or better yet, if they think that they're older, like some of these people, they think they're older and they're like nowhere near retirement age for whatever reason. Like, we're getting old and we're trying to actually get rid of a lot of that stuff. You remember
Downsize.
Yeah, we're downsizing. Fantastic. And also, when you're closing, it's fantastic because your discount is linked to what they're trading in. Right? It increases the value of the discount. I don't know what you think you'd get at a garage sale for this box of stuff, but or on eBay or whateber, but it'd probably be, I don't know, $5 or $10. Because knives do not sell for a high price at garage sales. I'll give you $97 for the whole box. $97 discount on a $1,000 order. Really? Absolutely. Let's do that. Right? Because you've got to get to a point where you can say it just makes sense. Right, where it makes sense for people to be spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on this stuff for their kitchen. All right. So, moving along. Cutco kitchen. Okay. So after that, I share my goals. We'll skip this. We'll skip this. There's lots of lead talks, but basically there's sheets of leads. You got to give me leads, Mrs. Jones. Then we got testimonials. All right, how long you had your Cutco? 6 years? Cool, look at this. This lady's had it for 47 years. Check that out. This lady's had it since 1958. Isn't that really cool? Okay, then we get to this. This is fantastic. I say, no, I just show this to all my customers to show them how we try to make Cutco affordable for people. This is a customer of mine. If you look at this, she spent a lot of money. She get a lot of stuff. She's spending, what's that, $3,400. Okay, now what's really cool about that is at the time she broke my record for discounts. She's getting $4,100 worth of stuff. She got a $700 discount. I have never had a customer not say wow at that. Okay? Not only that, the way we make it affordable is we take that $3,400 and we divide it by 5. And when I say that, I always hold the number 5 up because people don't really listen to, just don't listen, right? You heard Matt Kelly talking about how dense people are. We just take it, we divide it by 5, and she pays only $678 a month. Now that's still a whole lot of money, but it's a lot less than $3,400. And we do it, and you don't have to spend $3,400 in order to get a good discount or to be able to break it up. We go all the way down where someone's spending $2,000 is $400 a month, or $1,000 is $200 a month. We even go all the way down to someone spending $300, $400, $500. It's like $70, $80, $90 a month. So we find ways of making it affordable. I have never had to explain a 5-pay. How many people get confused with 5-pay at the end? They're like, wait, so I pay that 5 times a month? What? I've never had that confusion when I'm closing since I've been using this. Okay, because people get it at the beginning, right? And it's also, what you're doing is they're thinking $3,400, that's crazy. And then you go, well, there was a $700 discount, isn't that right? Because they're thinking, like, this is their crazy meter, right? $3,400 for Cutco, that's crazy. Well, they got a $700 discount. Oh. Well, we broke it into 5 payments. Oh. And you don't have to spend $3,400. You could spend like only $2,000. Oh. Or you could spend just $1,000. Oh. Or you could even do like, $300, $400, $500. Oh. Okay, that makes sense. Right? It's no longer crazy because you got to get to that point. Thank you. You got to get to that point where, again, you just say it just makes sense to spend that kind of money. The Does this make sense, guys? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. We enjoy this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see what we've got next. We've got leads, testimonials. Okay, that's the wrong page. Let's go into the 6 big friends. Okay, real quick, on a service call, I definitely need someone to hold the mic for this. Okay, you can go one of 2 ways in terms of upgrades. You can build an upgrade from the top down, you can build it from the bottom up. All right? If someone's totally cool with the concept sale, that means they don't even want to know what comes in the upgrade. All right, this actually happened to me. I had a customer, this was my first order over like $1,500. I had a customer, this was back when I did a service call, and my service call was, do you want this? No. Okay, do you want this? Maybe. Okay, we'll put it on your wish list. Do you want this? Yes, put it on your wish list. Do you want this? No. Do you want that? No. It was like every single item in the book, right? And I had this lady, after like 6 items, she was like, well, how much is it if I just get everything? Like, what do you mean everything? She's like, that set right there, how much is it if I just get that? She had like a galley set. She's pointing to the ultimate. How much if I just get that? Well, don't you want to know what comes in it? No. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to know? She's like, well, how much is it if I get the whole thing? I'm like, but I haven't shown you what comes in it. She's like, well, I don't care. I just want the big one. I'm like, but you don't know what comes in it. She's like, you just add it up for me? I'm like, okay. Right, and I'm adding it up, and I'm all nervous, and I add it up like 3 times to make sure it's right. And I'm like, well, if you get the whole thing, it'll be like $1,900, but I know that's a lot of money, so I'm going to give you like $400 off. So it's like only $1,500. She's like, okay, cool, let's do that. But you don't know what comes in it. The point is, there are some types of people that customer showed me that she didn't even want to know what came in it. There's some types of people that are like that. Now, there's other types of people who want to know exactly what comes in it. Right? And there's ways to deal with both of those. The way you want to do it is you test this out by, you turn to the page. You should have a page like this. Here, hold the mic. On the one side of the page, you got the signature. On the other side of the page, you got the ultimate. Here's what you want to say about upgrades. This is obviously for a service call, not for a demo. Okay, what most people do are upgrade. The way that upgrade works is you keep all the knives that you have. And I usually point to the knives that they have to make it really obvious what I'm talking about. You keep all the knives that you have. You get a new block, and you get the knives that you don't have. And you get a discount off the price of the set. So if the set's $2,000 and you have $600 worth of Cutco, you only pay $1,400. Does that make sense? And we have sets, of course, and of course I got to like drop down really fast to make them think that I'm not trying to close them on a $2,000 order when I've only been there for 7 minutes. So, but of course we have sets that are smaller. But let me do this. Let me ask you some questions about the kind of stuff you do in the kitchen that'll help me figure out what might make sense for you. All these questions are posted on FSA Magic, but here's the basic list of questions. Do you cook more because you like to or because you have to? How many nights a week, now this is very carefully worded, how many nights a week do you eat here as opposed to going out to eat? That is an alternative of choice question. You're not asking if they cook, you're not asking if they like to cook, you're not asking, what you're asking, how many nights a week do you eat here as opposed to going somewhere else? How many nights a week do you cook? You get all these people, oh, I don't cook at all. Well, so how often are you going out? 1 night a week? Okay, so 6 days a week you're eating here. Yeah, but I don't cook. Like, you don't want to get into that. How many nights a week do you eat here as opposed to going out to eat? Okay, any special diet? Kosher, vegetarian, anything like that? No? Okay, cool. You do the holidays here, or do you go somewhere else for that? Holidays here, fantastic. Now, when you have people, how often do you have people over? Like once a month, once a week? This is all very carefully worded, right? How often do you have people over, period? Gets the response, never. How many people do you have over? How often do you have people over? Once a month, once a week? Gets the response, oh, probably once a month. Okay, fantastic. When people do come over, how many people? Like small, big? Do you get how every single question I'm asking has a knife behind it? Okay, fantastic. Is this the only house? Do you have like an RV, a camper, a boat, anything like that? You'd be surprised that who has 2 houses. All right, I did see this one lady who was not in the best neighborhood. It was a very medium-sized house. She's like, oh yeah, this is actually our small house. We have a much bigger one in this other rich neighborhood. And she had 2 Cutco sets. So I ask him about that. Then I say, okay, so when you buy chicken, you get it whole or you get it pre-cut? All right, what knives is that? That's the cleaver, the butcher knife, that could be the shears, that could be the boning knife, right? 4 knives behind that one question. They say, oh, so we do both. Okay, how often do you get the chicken whole? Like once a week? Really? Okay, cool. Would you chop lots of vegetables? Right? That's a dummy question because everybody says yes to it, but you're setting up for the santoka, the petite santoka, the vegetable knife, and the chef knives. Right? Do you cut up raw meat, cut the fat off, cut into strips, that kind of thing? Everyone says yes to that, and that's a boning knife. Boom, easy 75 CPO on the order. Do you guys barbecue at all? That's a Hardy slicer. Right? Never call it the Hardy slicer. That's a stupid name. Call it the barbecue knife. All you have to do is show the husband, be like, this is the barbecue knife, and you hand it to him, and he's like, yeah. I kid you not. The Hardy slicer really sells itself. And these are among your 6 best friends, okay? Or excuse me, your 7 best friends. And again, all this is in a handout that's on FSM Magic. Or you can always email me and I can send it to you, cutcokid@gmail.com. Cutcokid, no dashes, dots, anything, CUTCOKID @gmail.com. So some other questions that I asked, let's see, you ever do like big fruits, watermelon, grapefruit, cantaloupe, like the big things, right? That's butcher knife. How about squash? Squash can be, again, Hardy slicer or butcher knife, and sometimes even cleaver. Do you ever cut anything that's frozen or partly frozen? All right, again, Hardy slicer, cleaver. I had a woman, I kid you not, deer leg, 4 inches in diameter, frozen solid. She cut it in half with the cleaver. In half, like in half. It took like 2 minutes. Whang, whack, 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 and it put all these dents in my cleaver. But she did get all the way through it. And it was so frozen solid that when she got through it, you could see the bone in the middle, and you couldn't tell the difference between the meat and the bone because it was frozen so solid. It was pretty cool, so she bought a cleaver. Those are some of those questions. Now, as I'm asking those, now I'm figuring out homemaker signature ultimate. All right, get to those questions, and if they cook a lot, and if they're ultimate people, a lot of times I'll tell them. I'll say, you do realize that you cook more things for more people more frequently than most people do. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, I know. All right, now you're getting their consent. Yeah, you're right, I do. That's why you need a set bigger than most people have. Let me show you. All right, did you guys get how this is working, how the psychology is working here behind all of these different things? Okay, so now I'm going to say, then I'm going to explain the upgrade a second time. And the coolest thing, that what you're probably going to want is an upgrade to a set like this. Right? And again, if they're like never cooking and they're single or in an apartment or whatever, I'll upgrade them to a homemaker. I don't care. All right? So I'm going to pitch them on this. I'm going to talk about how, all the different things that I've already talked about. I'm basically going to repeat them briefly. I'm going to say, what do you think of the upgrade? This is the ultimate litmus test question. Are they a concept salesperson or do they want to know what comes in it? Right? Are we going to go from the top down or are we going to go from the bottom up? If they just look at the upgrade and say, fantastic, yeah, I definitely think we could do an upgrade. Or I really want that. But that definitely looks like the right set for me. That's a concept sale. Fantastic, you should write down upgrade on their wish list. Do not write out 18 different knives. They don't even want to know what comes in it. If they want to know, they will ask you. Does that make sense? Okay, so you can just write down upgrade and then move on to the flatware. All right? Now, I do recommend showing them your 7 best friends if they don't like any of the items that come in the upgrade. If you're showing them something and you show them the petite santoku and for whatever reason they're the only person in the world that doesn't like the petite santoku, you say, the greatest thing about the upgrade is that it's customizable, which means this doesn't have to come in it if you don't want it to. And you just take it out, substitute something else, or you take it out completely. Now, if they're a bottom-up person, the way you build it up is using your 7 best friends. That's the petite santoku, the cheese knife, the Hardy slicer, the boning knife, and the vegetable knife, and there's 1 or 2 others, and it's all on the handout. You show them these knives, you give them the right names and uses, which is usually not the ones in your manual, it's the ones on the handout, it's on FSM Magic. You do a good job with that. And now, once you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 knives on their wish list, what do they need to do? Upgrade. Right? So you can trap them this way, or you can trap them that way. You cut them off at the pass. Right? They're fleeing the upgrade, and they don't know that your reinforcements are coming from the other way. All right? Again, you got to get to that point where it just makes sense. And the minute you get them to, here's what you do. So you get the 7 knives on the list, you say, well, where are you going to put all these? And then you basically close them on putting them in a block. Never ever tell them how much the block costs unless they directly ask you. Don't lie to people, but just don't volunteer information like this block of wood is $300. Right? Do you know how much a sunroof costs in your car? It's like $150 to add a sunroof to your car. You don't want to know that? They don't want you to know that. Right? I'd rather not know that I spent $150 on a sunroof. Not even on it's not the sunroof itself. Sunroof itself is like $900. It's the little thing that keeps the wind out of coming in your car. That's like $150. Right? They don't tell you that. It is itemized on your receipt, but they don't tell you. You don't ask, and you don't want to know. I'd rather not know. Right? If I want to know, I'll ask. So again, you can. Now here's what you do. Once they agree to the upgrade, you write down upgrade. Now, if you're writing down all these 7 knives, how do you write down 7 knives and then cross them all out and write upgrade? You don't. All right? I came up with this really cool trick. It's called folding a piece of paper. They decide they want pieces, and I unfold it, and we're looking at individual pieces. Does that make sense? Now, the minute they want an upgrade, everything that goes in the upgrade is now on their wish list. I will tell them at the end, in your upgrade, you get the 6 knives that you selected. You also get, flip to that page, another meat knife. I'm not going to use the word cleaver. You get another meat knife. You get another raw meat knife. You get another petite slice. You're going to need a couple of other paring knives. So you get all this stuff, and it all comes to your upgrade. Flip back. All right? Now, the coolest thing is, now, when they object to the price, you know what the coolest thing is? Your upgrade probably comes with some things that you may not want to use. For example, there's this cleaver in it. And you pull it out and you're like, you don't need this, do you? No way. Watch. And they're like asking you, like, how much is it for one knife? Like, just watch this. I'll just take this one knife out. You won't believe how expensive the cleaver is. You take that one knife out and all of a sudden the price goes down like $200. And then you knock off, you give them a little bit of an extra discount. And you're like, that's a lot less. I know. Let's just do that. Okay, so we'll flip ahead really quick to the other 6 big friends. Selling them if they have a second home or they have an RV, a boat, or a camper, it's real easy. Again, make it make sense. Okay, do you have a second home? Yes, fantastic. Tell me about that other house. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Did you know we have sets that are specifically designed for second homes? Really? Yeah, they're called starter sets, and they're all in the back. Or, do you know we have sets that are specifically designed for boats and campers? Really? Yeah, they're called starter sets. Here, kitchenette set's a great one. Galley set's fine. I'm going to teach you hope chests really quick. You asked Mrs. Jones, and again, this is all on FSM Magic. Mrs. Jones, do you remember hope chests? And I have a hope chest promotional page in here that you guys can look at. Do you remember hope chests? Half of them say yes, half of them say no. If you don't know what a hope chest is, this is when Mrs. Jones buys Cutco for her kids, who are probably younger than you. Here's how you make that make sense. Number one, this used to be really popular in the 70s. They'd buy stuff for their kids. They sometimes buy stuff for their kids when they're pregnant. They would buy quilts. They would buy cookware. They would buy flatware, plates, things like that. They put it all in her chest, and when she gets married, they give it to her and say, we bought this for you 20 years ago. We've been thinking of you. Isn't this great and sentimental and magical? All right? Now, here's what you do. See, Mrs. Jones, you remember hope chests. If they say no, then you basically say what I just said, and you explain what it is. Then you say, we're actually bringing them back here at Cutco, because I'm bringing them back, all right? You guys are bringing them back. Here's what you want to say. The reason people do this is because it just makes sense. In 1992, you write the number 92, then a dash. In 1992, the Cutco basic set was $643, right? That's your Homemaker Plus 8. In 1992, it was $643. Mrs. Jones, today, it's about $1,000. You write 11-1000. I don't know when you think your kids are going to be getting married, but you know you're going to want to get Cutco for them, right? Well, let's say that's 15, 20 years from now. It's going to be like $1,500, $1,600. Then you write, 2025/1600. Then you go, this, and this are the exact same thing. The last change they made to Cutco was in 1972. Same color, same items, same guarantee. The only difference is in how much you pay for it. And if you get a hope chest, we have hope chest specials where you don't pay $1,000 for a basic set. Instead, you pay only $795, which is your trade-in special. You only pay $795, and you can break it up so you only pay $159 today. And we have sets that people do for hope chests that go all the way down to like half that. So is that something you want to do? Do you want me to show you what your options are with that? Awesome. 95% of people will say no. When half of them look at it and they go, that makes sense. But no, I don't want to look at that. That means you did it right. Because they're saying that it made sense. Of the 5% who say, yes, I want to look at that, about 70% of them will buy. Okay? So it's just that occasional one that gets that extra homemaker. I had one lady, I'll give you this closing comment. I had a day. This is just how average order works, all right? The way average order works, it's not, you hear, I basically have a $600 service call average. You hear that, and a lot of people think, oh, that means it's a $600 minimum. That means all of his orders are $600 or over. But it actually means the opposite. I got enough boning knives and trimmers and cheese knives, and I had to sell a whole lot of $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 orders to make it even out to 600, right? So I had this one day, we had 9 appointments. And on 9 appointments, I sold a sharpener. It was the most miserable thing ever. And the last guy who had me to